going on, everybody? Welcome outside. As you know, we put a garden in last year. We got some layer hens. We're doing the hogs. You saw us do the hog pen a little while ago on this channel. And because of the current times, we're also expanding into some meat chickens. So we have ourselves a meat tractor right here, and I'm going to show you how we made it. One might ask, what exactly are we after here? So a couple things. We wanted to prove to ourselves that we could raise these chickens, butcher them ourselves, so that we could be slightly more self-sustaining. And to do that, we wanted to go with a chicken tractor, which we actually pulled around our property so that we didn't completely destroy a single section of the land to raise the chickens, and we could actually fertilize as we moved the chicken tractor along the property. The goals were something that was completely detached from the ground, and when I say that, I want to be able to pull the whole thing and not have to move a chicken feeder and or a chicken waterer at all. I want to be able to grab on, pull it, and be ready to go. We didn't actually cover making the feeder in here because I wasn't sure if it was going to work correctly. I do have some hesitation on how it's working, definitely some improvements for later, but it is something attached to one side of the chicken tractor, and it is part of it. We can drag the whole thing along as we wanted to. So how are we building this thing? Well, you remember who you are when you mocked me about burning all of the old deck that we tore down last year. Well, here it is again. We have some of that old deck planking, and we are going to be using that for the chicken tractor. If I was to buy material, would I use 2x6? Absolutely not, but this is some free material that we had in the back of the property that was always planning to use for something like this. So Ethan and I brought a bunch of those 2x6 planks up. We removed the nails from them and cut them down to the lengths that we needed for a set of plans that I put together for this chicken tractor. If some people are interested, please reach out, DIYTyler@gmail.com, and we can get those plans to you. Someday I will probably get them up on my website if I am pleased enough with the design. Now, this is 12 foot long by 6 foot wide, and I didn't have any 12-foot boards, so I had to whip out the board stretcher, which was just nailing a couple planks together. I did use nails to pre-assemble everything, and then I will go through later and add 3.5-inch DeckMate screws to make sure nothing pulls apart as we are moving this chicken tractor around the property. Once we had our long boards nailed together, we're essentially going to be making two rectangles held together by two, I think they were 20-inch vertical boards. Nailed everything together, added those vertical spaces, and then the kids helped me hold the longer sections in place as we nailed them together to make the box frame, the base frame. Outside. Let me do mine first. It's kind of interesting, as I am recording this voiceover, the chickens are due to be butchered in about 2 days. You'll see the chickens as little chicks in this video. You'll see them a little bit bigger, and it was about 40 days ago, I guess, that I built this chicken tractor. And it's kind of ironic, so I got a little feedback that I can offer right now. So the plan was, and it is something we followed through on, and I think won't change, that we are only going to cover with a roof with Endura Premium panels half of this chicken tractor. So if it's raining, the chickens can go under the covered portion. If it's nice and sunny and they want to sun themselves, they can go to the outside. So for that roofed section, I am making, what is this called? A bridle cut, I guess, to make essentially little rafters. So we're going to have a angled pitch on here. It's going to be kind of a lean-to style, and we're going to cover it with Endura Premium panels. We'll get to that later on, but right now we just got to get the angle in and mount everything in place and add a couple of support boards. Again, we're going to do this all with the 2x6s. Now the 2x6s are relatively heavy. The whole tractor is kind of heavy, and as I said before, if I had to buy it, I wouldn't use 2x6s, but this is what we had, and it happens to be cedar. So while there is a lot of wood here, it's not terribly difficult to grab this chicken tractor with the straps that we leave in place, and we'll show us moving it later on. It's not difficult to grab it and move it the 12 feet that you need to move it every day. So at this point, the framing of the chicken tractor is pretty much complete. There's a few odds and ends we need to finish, like adding the door, which is going to go on that front left quadrant that we're looking at right now. But we want to wrap this with the chicken wire, and I'm using literally chicken wire from the home center and stapling it in place. A majority of the areas I actually double wrapped everything because we do want to make sure that no predators have the ability to tear this off and get in. A predator might be able to reach their paw in through the chicken wire, but I wanted to make sure there was plenty of staples and double wraps so that they wouldn't be able to pull the chicken wire off. So it worked out well with a 2-foot tall wrap of chicken wire to be able to wrap the top over the board, staple it in place very, very well. And then in the sections where we had the angled portion of the roof, we just had to add a little piece on the top to make sure there was absolutely no open space for any predators, large or small, to get in here and ruin our prize of meat. After all the time and the feed that we put in to raise them, we definitely don't want a predator to get in there and kill them. And we've already mentioned how we're going to finish the covered section, and that's one of today's sponsors of this video, Onduline North America, and these are going to be their Ondura Premium panels that we are going to be using. You have seen me use these for many different projects, and they're fantastic. They're very, very easy to work with. It's easy to swing, to lug around that entire panel, and super fast to install using their new and improved hex head screws. And you can start by doing a drip edge like I'm showing you right there, which you make by cutting off one of those corrugated sections of the Ondura Premium panel. You got your foam closer strips, and then you're able to screw everything in place. Being called out, your distance is very easily called out by an embossment on that panel of where you need to put your screws. So super handy, and like I said, cover huge square footage with each panel. I love using this product. It goes down very fast, and from our experience, it protects and is watertight for the longest time. As long as I've ever used it, we've had absolutely no issues with the Ondura. So highly recommend it. It is available at your local Lowe's. Quickly screwing down all of the Ondura Premium panels, and we need to cut one strip down at the end, down to the proper width, and the stuff cuts super easy down the corrugation using a utility knife. If you have to do a cross cut, you can do that with a circular saw fairly easily and with very little mess. And just screw that in place, and we are good to go with the roof. Originally, the plan was not to put any tough decks on the side, just leave it open. But upon further consideration, we're a little bit worried about too much water getting under here. So we're gonna, for now, enclose two sides with Onduline Tough Decks polycarbonate in a smoke color. So we're gonna slap that up real quick. Maybe we'll put it on the front at some point in time, but we'll probably just do these two sides to make sure water doesn't get inside and get the chickens wet. This will give them a corner to get far away from any rain that may come down and get through. Gonna slap this right over the chicken wire. Having cut quite a bit of this Onduline Tough Decks product, and from some user feedback, some viewer feedback here, leave me comments, I do read them. I found it's best to cut very few of these at a time and to turn your blade backwards. You still may have to take 2 passes, otherwise you'll melt too much material. But if you turn the blade around, it really seems to prevent some of the jumping, the blade catching and jumping and having to change your pants that I used to have to do when I first started cutting this material. Can do it in less passes as well. So. No jumping, much cleaner cut. Thank you whoever commented to tell me to flip the blade around. Appreciate it. I would like to take a quick pause and thank the sponsor of today's video, who is Taiwan Excellence. Taiwan Excellence is the symbol of recognition given to the very best and most innovative Taiwanese companies, one of these being Tenz. Tenz was a step-thread technology developed in Austria that is now manufactured in Taiwan. What does that step thread do? That's those little red bumps you see on the 3D printed screw, and that helps open the pores of the wood to reduce the driving power needed by your drill by 50%, allowing you to drive more screws and less wear and tear on your tools. Now, the original Tenz screws, which are the zinc-plated ones, are not available in the United States yet, but the DeckMate screws, which use the Tenz technology, are available at your home centers today. Thanks, Taiwan Excellence, for sponsoring this video. As we are building this door frame, I do want to bring up that I forgot to show is that we actually use 3.5-inch DeckMate screws to screw together the entire frame to make sure nothing pulled apart as we're moving this chicken tractor around. When we put it together, as you saw, it just had nails, so the screws will help us keep everything permanently together. We did add some chicken wire and hinges to this door so that we can open it up and get to the chickens if we need to take them out for butchering, or we need to get in there and give them some medication or some other feed. How are we going to move the chicken tractor around? I got some big 3/8 inch or half-inch eye bolts that we're able to hook a tow strap into and rather easily pull the whole chicken tractor along. And I believe we show that here in a second. This is something that we move every day. Depending, sometimes we move it twice, and if we move it twice, we only move it about 6 feet. And you can see the feeder behind the dog right there that is integrated into one side of the chicken coop. So we don't actually have to open anything up if we don't want to. We could put the chicken feed in the side, and the water bucket is hanging on the chicken tractor itself. So typically if we have to move it, I will take the lid off so I know where we're at, lay it down so we can move it the proper distance. And here you can see one of my reservations on the feeder is it doesn't quite have the right angle pitch to get all of the feed into the area where the chickens can eat it. But overall, it works pretty well. Again, we have nothing on the ground. We can very easily pull this thing right along, and by golly, aren't those chickens looking delicious. Well, there you are, guys. Chicken tractor has been moving down the, the west side of our property. And those chickens are about 36 days old, something like that. So they have, I think July 16th is the day that they're scheduled to be butchered, which we are going to do. Not going to do a video on that just yet on this channel, maybe someday. But anyway, it seems to be working out well. There's some things that I dislike about it. There's some improvements that I think we might need to make. And I'll probably go into more detail on some of that later on. But I do think the chicken feeder would be best if the chickens could feed on both sides, because as they're getting bigger and bigger, they kind of crowd out the whole space, and I'm not sure that all the chickens are getting an equal amount of food. The water seems to work well in the 5-gallon bucket. We don't have to move it with the chicken tractor, and that was kind of the whole point of that, is I wanted to be able to drag the whole thing without having to reach in there and pick anything up. This is 12 by 6, which is 72 square feet, which I guess ethically at 2 square foot per chicken, something like that. Not sure what it is exactly. We could get 36 chickens in there. We started with 32. We lost one very early on. We lost one today, which is June 30th, I think. It was a kind of a small one and was getting picked on by the other chickens at one point in time. So we got 30 chickens in there. Hopefully we get a nice decent amount of meat from that, but the chicken tractor is working out very well. Hope you guys enjoyed this video and it helped some of you DIYers and homesteaders out. If it did, please hammer that thumbs up button, as it helps us out and gets this video in front of more eyes. I'm DIYTyler on the homestead. You guys have a good one.